All right, everyone. Pete Buttigieg's strategy has even now come to the attention of the legacy media. He's now in a fourth place showing at the moment. He's pulled ahead of Kamala Harris. Part of that is him moving ahead. He was at like 5. He's at maybe 6 now. The other part of it is Kamala Harris has really, even her core fan base has started to dwindle. I think they're moving to Warren mostly. Just as the Biden alternative. I think they would prefer to have Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris is the strong, empowered woman sort of candidate. Like, I'm female, vote for me or you're sexist. Elizabeth Warren's less like that. She plays the ethnicity card occasionally. She continued to do so long after it was a good idea. But by and large, she's just trying to fake being a progressive. She basically took Bernie Sanders' platform, said, aha, I invented this, and then ran with it. Kamala Harris is a little bit worse than that. Like, she genuinely is a terrible person, and, like, the odds of her being president are 0. Thankfully. So now you got Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg coming from behind to steal that 4th place slot. His operative strategy, and I think I mentioned this a couple months ago that this would be the way to go, is to wait for Biden to potentially implode and then hope that he grabs support from that. It's possible for him to do so. Here's why. Biden represents, if you're a core Biden supporter, you're part of that 20-25% that's diehard in Biden support. Most of it, I think, is out of fear of the other Democratic candidates. Because he represents, Obama nostalgia, the center left, the status quo, really, within the Democratic Party. Which I don't know how great an idea that is, but some people like that moderate sort of talk. Harris and Warren and Sanders, whether authentic or not, they represent massive change from that sort of line that the Democrats have been at during the Obama and their era and thereafter. Really since the Gore era, you could say, or even the Clintonian era. That's their status quo, their happy paradigm. They're being dragged away from that paradigm right now, and what you've got is a sort of gorgonic monstrosity of far leftists fighting one another for that slot, which allows somebody like Biden or Buttigieg potentially to slip in and become the nominee even without a significant amount of support. The fact is, increasingly the Democrats are a socialist movement. They are a far left movement, beyond progressivism, to the point where Bernie Sanders is no longer considered to be particularly leftist within the Democratic Party. Bernie Sanders, a self-proclaimed socialist since the 70s who used to visit the USSR for a holiday, is no longer considered far left within the Democratic Party. It should scare sane Democrats. The fact is that Buttigieg is a religious but gay man. I know, this seems like a misnomer on its face if you believe in fire and brimstone ideology. If you were any other form of Christian, you probably don't give a shit. He's like Jesus, but I'm not going to make that a platform. Yeah, I'm gay, but I'm not going to make that a platform. And so he's very much issue-oriented. And he's basically taken Biden's campaign, run with it, but at the same time, he had like one quip many months ago. He's like, well, no, we shouldn't be afraid to go off to the left to defeat Donald Trump. We don't need to be scared of that sort of thing. So I think that's mostly to play nice with the leftist candidates. Because he's been coming from behind, because he hasn't been a front runner, and because he's not seen as a leftist, and because he's white and male, I think, as well, the others haven't attacked him really all that much. Yet he's the best spoken of anyone up on stage. Since Gillibrand left, certainly that's been the case. Julian Castro has fallen apart. My golden boy, Julian Castro, who I thought would be potentially a threat to Trump, has made a total fucking fool of himself, so he's out. That leaves Buttigieg. He's the only person of that first crop of people that I thought potentially could be a threat to Trump. Pete Buttigieg, Tulsi Gabbard, who she never gets taken seriously. She should be, but she's not. Julian Castro, he's ruined his career, and then Gillibrand, who has dropped out. Those were the big 4. There's only one left, and he's in 4th place. A fairly strong 4th place. He's above 5 or 6%. He's got a core fan base. He's actually slightly growing, I think, again. If he can manage to force out a few of the lower tier candidates, get a couple of endorsements maybe, something along those lines, he could definitely make it into the upper echelon. He could be at like a Bernie Sanders level. This leads to the possibility, maybe not that he can become the nominee. I think it might be a little bit too far gone at this point. He already technically peaked anyway. He pulled a Kamala Harris, or a Bernie Sanders even. Really, Warren's the only one who's bucked this trend who isn't the front runner, Joe Biden. He may have already peaked, but he could get into a position where he becomes the VP, which I think would bring strength to any ticket he was on. I think he would definitely be very good vice presidential material. A lot of people disagree with me. They're like, well, he was just the mayor of South Bend. He's got no experience. You don't need experience. Trump had zero political experience. The fact that he was a successful businessman has nothing to do with politics. Trump, you think of Obama. Obama was, what was he? He was a senator, a junior senator. Very little political experience. Most of his was in activism, in social organization, not in politics in the direct electoral sense. Two presidents in a row have had relatively little political experience. And of course, depending on whether you're on the left or the right, you think one of them is a genius and the other one is a total moron and maybe Adolf Hitler. And if you're on the right, you think that in reverse. It's just the way that it is within presidential politics. I think he's playing with the only strategy that can legitimately get him any political clout. Now, do I think that he's got any chance whatsoever of becoming the nominee? Not really. He's got like a 1 in 1,000 chance. He's so far behind, he has to make up lost time and a half, and it's obvious that good debate performances, which he's had every single time, he's the only one who's been in the top tier, I think, every single time, if I remember correctly, who's been in the top echelon of the field or even close to it, it hasn't really panned out to increase support. Now, if Biden completely crumbles, I would say that instantly Buttigieg becomes the anti-Warren. She becomes the front runner. He will become the anti-Warren candidate. It can't be Sanders. The ideologies are too similar. The bad blood is too hot. With Buttigieg, though, you have an advantage. You have someone who's very well-spoken. He's already shown a willingness to hit out at Trump, and it landed. The blow that he struck during the third debate landed. So we've got to wait until the next debate, the final one, I believe, and wait and see what happens. It'd be funny if Gabbard was on stage with him and actually took pot shots at him the whole night and knocked Buttigieg. It'd be funny to see them, because then they'd be on the same level as far as their rhetoric and their debate skills. Gabbard versus Buttigieg, that would actually be a debate. It wouldn't be a bunch of fucking bobbleheads like, oh, Andrew Yang is going to sit here sweating profusely, talking about money, about things he doesn't fucking understand. He'll ramble to Kamala Harris. She'll say that he's sexist or something. Elizabeth Warren will say we need to stop being divisive and stop being like Trump, and then Biden will have an eye bleed. That's how the debates keep going. They're fucking boring. And the next one's going to be split up into 2 different debate nights. It's not even going to be a full stage. It's going to be 6 on 6. It'd be funny. Tulsi Gabbard, I still give good odds, will not be on stage with Warren, and it'll be very deliberate when she's not. If they do allow her on that stage, they'll probably have bought her off before. And don't attack Warren. Look, we'll give you $1 million goddamn dollars after the election is over just to not attack her and endorse her when she is coronated, basically. Stranger things have happened. Last election, I seem to remember, not the last presidential election, 2016, of course. Long time ago now, I seem to recall that the Clinton campaign and the DNC were both openly coordinating with MSNBC, CNN, and all of these groups. You know, the ones that are hosting these debates. Stranger things have happened within DNC politics. I wish Buttigieg well. I mean, would I vote for him? I don't like the Jesus stuff because I'm not Jesus. I actually admire the fact that he's not making that, or the fact that he's gay, really part of his campaign. He's sticking to issues. That's why he's in 4th. I think he'd be the front runner if he were willing to say, hey, I'm here, I'm queer, get used to it. And if he were to do that and say, but I love Jesus, he'd probably be the front runner right now. He probably already would have destroyed Biden. But it'd be very difficult to roll that over into a general election campaign. He's being very measured, perhaps even a little bit too measured. He's being like a McClellan. That's about all. Peace out.